is Friday, June 19th, and in light of the upcoming primary elections, we at News 13 wanted to try and bring in each of the candidates up for election this summer to just talk a little bit about their campaigns and themselves and the plans they have should they get elected this August. So today we are talking to State Attorney candidate and State Prosecutor Larry Basford. Mr. Basford, welcome.
Hello, Mia. It's good to be here this afternoon.
So first things first, can you just go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit and just a little bit about your background and your career?
Sure. Well, I guess I would start off. I'm Larry Basford. I'm a son to elderly parents, a loving father to a son and daughter, and then a blessed and very thankful grandfather. Over in Iran and then working out in the oil field out in Louisiana. And I made good money doing that. But I also, because my dad had been in that type of work, but I also looked at other things. When I was in school, I had interned with the state attorney's office in Tallahassee, and I got to work with some very good prosecutors. Larry Simpson, who had prosecuted Ted Bundy for the sorority murders, Willie Meggs, who later became state attorney, and Bob Cummings. And I really liked the work that they were doing, and it was an opportunity to make a difference in our little part of the world. So that's when I decided that I wanted to be a prosecutor after I graduated from college, and that's how I got into prosecuting.
And as a prosecutor, what do you think needs to change in our criminal defense system?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, this is the same thing that we've been after for a number of years, and that is people must have faith in our criminal justice system. They've got to feel that when they go to court, either as a victim, a witness, or a defendant, that the justice system is going to work and they're going to be treated fairly and with respect. Now, how do we do that? That comes about with a number of ways, and let me back up just a moment. And that means not just by the judge that sits on the bench and hears their cases, but it also means by law enforcement who are sworn to protect and service, and it also means that they've got to have faith in the state attorney's office, that their cases will be reviewed and prosecuted based on the facts of the case, the law, and then our duty as prosecutors to enforce the law, but at the same time protect our community and the people that we are sworn to serve. So how do we do that? We do that through better communication with our victims, better communications with witnesses, as well as our community leaders and the press. Now, you're aware that sometimes, the press wants more information that we are allowed to divulge early on in the case. We have to keep some information confidential until the investigation is completed or a certain stage of the investigation. But those are that's one of the things that needs to continue to improve on is better communication and understanding of how the justice system works and how it is working to serve everyone.
Great, yeah. So why are you running for state attorney's office?
Okay. As I told you earlier, I was born and raised up in Jackson County. I've lived in this area most of my life. And I was thinking about this the other day. Most of my family live within the 6 counties that we serve. Certainly I have friends and relatives out of state and out of our circuit, but by and far most of my friends and family lived here. And I want, as I said earlier, we have to, as public servants, try to make our community a little safer and a little better than we found it. I think that's incumbent upon all individuals to leave our part of the world a little bit better than when we first found it, for our children, for our grandchildren, and everyone concerned. And that is my way of doing this, is by helping keep our community safe for my friends' families, for my family, for everybody that is in our circuit, as well as the people that come to visit here. And we have a significant amount of tourists that come here every year.
Great. Well, let's jump over to policy a little bit.
Right.
With everything going on in the country right now, the riots and protests, and even right in our backyard a little bit, what is your take on police reform?
Well, to the extent that there is injustice, as Dr. King said, if there is injustice anywhere, that's a threat to justice everywhere. We want to make sure that everybody in our community feels like the justice system is serving them properly. Now, does that mean better training for law enforcement? Absolutely. That's a good start. Does it mean better training for people in our office so that we are more sensitive to the community and the people that we serve? Absolutely. So those are a couple of things right there that we can start. I think that there's some legislation that is going to be passed by our Congress, and there's already an executive order entered by the President that's going to help with police reform, and I'm certain that that will be addressed on the federal level and perhaps on the state level also.
Okay, and so in 2018, a bill in Florida passed to legalize the sale and cultivation of hemp,
Right.
Which, for people who don't know, can contain up to 0.3% THC. But many districts in Florida have since then said that this bill kind of makes it impossible to enforce the sale and cultivation of marijuana. So I guess my question is, do you believe that marijuana can be prosecuted under Florida law?
Well, it can be. Currently, the Florida Department of Crime, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, their crime laboratories are not set up to adequately analyze the quantitative amounts of THC in the cannabis. Okay, so that presents a big problem. There are some private labs in Florida that are able to do that analysis, but realistically speaking, on minor amounts, misdemeanor amounts, and just token amounts of marijuana, there's not. It's just not cost effective to have those types of tests run. So what we've been trying to do is use our diversion courts to take care of those minor offenses like that.
Great. Thank you so much. And one of our viewer questions came in this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
They just wanted to know, what has been the most important case that you've been a part of?
Well, there's been many cases, and I guess as a prosecutor, the most important case would currently be the case that you're working on at that moment. If you're trying to get a case ready to trial, that would be certainly the most important case. But there's been a number of cases. Up in Mariana, there was a case where a young lady, Danielle Baker, was killed with her 3 infant children, Ahmad, Marion, and Aaron. That was a very important case. Numerous agencies were involved in that case, and that was important. The prosecution of the gang member from Minneapolis that came down and killed Sergeant Kevin Kite here out on our beach on, I believe that was on Easter Sunday a number of years ago. That was a very important case. The murder of Canadian Major Air Force David Turin. That was a big case because it involves so many multinational agencies. But I would have to say, Mia, that every case that a prosecutor is working on at the time is the most important. Sometimes people may not realize that, and they think, well, maybe it's just the murder case. Well, the murder case is important if that's the case you're working on at the time. But to the person, the homeowner, the father, the mother who's had their home burglarized, that's the most important case when you're working on it, getting that case ready for trial or making a charging decision. Or it could be a case where a child has been abused, you know, and certainly those are very important. So it just all depends on what day, I guess, you know, that would depend on what case is the most important based on what you're working on that day.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I think that's all I have. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Well, I would just like to add that I think experience is very important in this campaign, okay? As the state attorney, you cannot be everywhere and try every case. That's where it's incumbent upon the state attorney to have the right people in the right places so they can make the right decisions and carry out your policy. And in order to do that, it's been my beliefs and experience, firsthand experience, that it is easier to follow someone who has been there, done that, and can mentor you because they've actually done the job before. And that's what I think is important in this election is the experience. I've been there and worked my way up from the bottom all the way up to the number 2 position in the state attorney's office. So I will be able to mentor our younger attorneys and the seasoned attorneys there and help direct the policy of the office and provide the needed leadership that is necessary to effectively run the state attorney's office and to make sure that we have the stability in the state attorney's office and the faith of the community that we are going to do the right thing based on the facts, the law, and our duty to protect the people, but not on politics.
Great. Well, Mr. Basford, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thanks for...
We are the believers, we are the hope keepers, living to make a difference.